On your Wednesday episode of Locked On Blue Jays, give it to the 2023 Blue Jays. They are extremely, extremely on brand.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Wednesday, maybe late Tuesday, October the 3rd, Wednesday, October the 4th, whenever you're listening to this. I am one of your hosts, Sean Woodley. You can find me over on Locked On Raptors and on Twitter at WoodleySean, here filling in. Pinch hitting on Locked On Blue Jays from now until the end of the postseason, which might not be very long. Mike DiStefano is here as well. That's the voice you hear, the co-host of Locked On Leafs. Another
is this the penultimate podcast? Is that what we're saying?
Could be. It's one of those TV series that doesn't realize it's getting canceled. It's like Winning Time, perhaps. Like that's where the situation we're in right now. We're in the second last episode of Winning Time. The Toronto Blue Jays fall in Game 1 to the Minnesota Twins. Not great. We're going to dig into all of it. Our biggest takeaways from the game. Kevin Gausman struggling early. The bat struggling all day long. Matt Chapman nearly hitting a massive, massive home run that just got robbed by the baseball gods. And, of course, we will look ahead at an all-or-nothing Game 2 for the Toronto Blue Jays, for whom everyone will be available out of the pen, non-Kevin Gausman division, as John Schneider said after the game. We will get into all of that. Before we dive in, thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Please subscribe, follow, rate, review, all that good stuff wherever you get your podcasts. It's always appreciated when you support the show. Been nice to see some folks on the YouTube channel warming up to Mike and I after taking over for Craig. So thanks for bearing with us, I suppose. Yes. And it's been great. Today's show is brought to you by Sleepers. Swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you can win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right.
Those Mike, everydayers too. I feel really sorry for them about what they had to witness today. Because if you're seeking out a daily Blue Jays podcast, you're a diehard and you live and die and breathe Blue Jays baseball. And the product that they put out there tonight has been honestly very similar to the product they've been putting on all year long, which is a very frustrating one where
they are who they thought we were. Or
you get
the hell the phrase is. Yeah.
Right. Good bullpen. You get some decent pitching, but just can't seem to muster up any runs whatsoever. And that's basically what happened tonight. It was
we will get Blue Jays-esque. Yeah. We're going to get into the offense and a couple squandered opportunities. The really, really grim 8th inning after a pretty exciting start to the 8th inning. We'll get into all that, but we should start with Kevin Gausman, who did not have his best game in this one. He goes just the 4 innings. He gives up the 3 runs, only 3 hits, gives up the home run, of course, or 2 home runs to Royce Lewis. Just left a couple of hangers. The first one gets totally pulled. Just totally beautiful, gorgeous swing by Royce Lewis, who was made available for this game. Obviously was on the IL with a hamstring issue, had to DH, couldn't play third base, but he's just in there to hit bombs, apparently. That's fun. What did you make of Gausman's start and sort of where things went wrong for him before we kind of dive into the bullpen and the way they kept him in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the story coming into the game was, Kevin Gausman's very well documented struggles against the Twins this year, a north of 6 ERA, which is not Gausman-like. This was the team that had really kind of had the book on Kevin Gausman. I did see a stat pop up during the broadcast that said the Twins were the team that, sat on that breaking ball the most, right? So that splitter, only had a chase rate of 33%, which was there's only one other team that was in the 30s. Everyone else is 40s and 50% on the chase rate. So they just completely decided, all right, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us in the zone. We're not going to beat ourselves. And, we came into the game wondering, okay, is he tipping pitches? Or what's the situation here when it comes to the Twins? And, I'm not sure if it's just tipping pitches or whatever it is, but ultimately I think the Twins deserve a lot of credit for their approach, and it forced Kevin Gausman to pitch a little bit higher into the zone. And then when you're pitching over the plate, eventually, you're going to get hit for a couple hard ones. And that's what happened with Royce Lewis. And ultimately, though, those are the only pitches that he really missed all game. And he talked about the first one in the first inning. He talked about how that one really got away from him. He said, I missed my spot by about 3.5 feet. And when you do that, it's not gonna go well for you. So it's unfortunate that ultimately this game, and now maybe even the season comes down to basically 2 pitches, right?
That's baseball
on 2 pitches to the same player, the same individual who was a game time decision to even play. And now the Jays go into tomorrow with their season on the line because of it. Baseball.
Yeah. Baseball, it really is a fickle mistress, and we don't like it very much. Not having the best time today watching that game. Again, very, very on brand for the Blue Jays, just top to bottom in terms of the style of game it was, and also very on brand for the Blue Jays, the 2023 Blue Jays, to be the team against whom the Minnesota Twins snapped their decades-long 18-game postseason losing streak. It's great. Everything's fine. Nothing is terrible at all. Gausman, kind of a weird first inning for him. Obviously, he gave up the home run. He felt like he was really kind of fighting it with the umps a little bit, even though I didn't really see many cases in which he was kind of getting jobbed on calls. It just kind of seemed like he wasn't really hitting his spots, right? He 3 walks in this game. That continues over the trend of the walk issues he had against Minnesota, 9 walks in 10 innings during the regular season in 2 matchups. Did you see anything sort of erroneous with the strike zone in that early going? It seemed like he kind of had that as his thing. The pitch calm was giving him issues. He settled down eventually. Credit to him. Kept him in it, and they only gave up the 3 runs. But it was just a very bizarre off-kilter start that can kind of set the whole game in a bit of a weird vibe.
Yeah, it did, and I'm not sure what he was seeing either, because based off of my vantage point, watching from my couch, it didn't appear that those were strikes anyways. They were off the plate. If anything, to be completely honest, I think we could probably say that the Blue Jays got more beneficial strike and ball calls tonight than Minnesota did, especially when the Jays were up to bat. There was one on Alejandro Kirk, legitimately had to been at 6 inches, 8 inches above the plate, and somehow it got called a ball. It made no sense to me. But Gausman, he did settle in, and obviously you saw he started to locate his pitches a little bit better. He rose it up into the strike zone, and then ended up actually striking out guys now instead of walking dudes, which is why I was actually a little bit confused. Well, not confused, but when someone finally finds their game, and it's not like he was 100 pitches into the game, 90 pitches, but why they decided to take him out when they did. I felt like he finally had figured something out. He afterwards said he did figure out what was going on, and, elevated his pitches a little bit more to get in the zone to force more swing and miss stuff. And ultimately, they decided to take him out of the ball game because, well, it's baseball in 2023. And how dare you send somebody through an order 3 times? So it was kind of weird where it's the guy finally got his game together. Now you're going to yank him. Did that bother you at all?
It didn't, because the Jays bullpen's really good. And I didn't have any.
They are, but now it's okay, you may, if all goes well, all these guys who pitched today, you're probably going to need tomorrow, and then probably going to need also for game 3. So now you're going to have some guys pitching 3 days in a row. It's never a great thing. I feel like they could have maybe saved a couple of those arms and given Gausman another inning or 2, maybe get through 6, because he had settled in. It was more of a long-term thinking for me, is now you're kind of tiring out your bullpen unnecessarily.
I get that. I also think I didn't want to see Kevin Gausman face Royce Lewis again, and that was the decision, I think, to me. It's just okay, Royce Lewis is coming up. You got us through the 4. We know the documented history of the struggles with the Twins, and I don't know how you sort of bake that into your decision if you're John Schneider and Pete Walker, but I didn't have an issue with taking him out. I think, he got them through the 4 innings. That's, there's value in that alone, right? And obviously, if had things gone horribly for the bullpen, we're probably just singing a different tune right now. But, in fairness, outside of Jordan Hicks, who throws 25 pitches, no one else throws more than 14. All these guys should be totally fresh tomorrow. Meza throws just 3 pitches in 1/3 of an inning, gets the 1 out, gives up a hit. I think it was probably the right call because the Royce Lewis thing was just kind of hanging over it all, right? And I think throwing him a different look after taking Gausman yard twice on his absolute tank jobs, I think was probably the move. But not great when your best starter only goes 4 innings in the first game of the playoffs. No doubt about that.
No,
little shades of Alek Manoah not having himself a great start in game 1 last year, although not quite as disastrous.
It wasn't a horrible outing, though. That's the thing. It just, there was a couple of at-bats where he lost it. He walked a couple of dudes, and then really 2 bad pitches. You leave your fastball over the plate against a guy who just crushes fastballs, and he hits them into the seats, and all of a sudden, that's where all 3 of the runs came from. You eliminate those 2 pitches, I mean, we're still probably playing baseball right now. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a terrible game for Gausman. It was just a couple of pitches that went awry and took him maybe an inning too late to locate to elevate that fastball and that splitter.
Yeah, look, this game doesn't, I think it's a pretty regular script for a Blue Jays game, right? And I don't think this is like a total disaster show in which, all hope is lost or anything like that. But certainly a lot of the issues that have dogged this team all season long rear their ugly head. We will get into the runners in scoring position and mostly just like the not capitalizing on opportunities for the offense in this game on the other side. Before we do that, however, Mike, we got to tell all our good our friends over at Sleeper. The MLB playoffs have begun, which means the clock is ticking on your chance to get 100 times your cash on daily fantasy baseball. Baseball has never been more exciting than it is now, with studs like Royce Lewis hitting bombs all over the place. So go check him out right now. Pick more or less on the stats for stars or whatever players you want to pick. Like home runs, hits, strikeouts, and more for up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. Get your picks right, and you could win big. It's a great little app. You go into the game, maybe you want to make yourself feel a little bit better. You make an entry for a player on the Twins. Maybe you say Royce Lewis more than 1 home run. If you win that, at least you're feeling like a little bit better about yourself, even if the Blue Jays lose. It's the happiness hedge. Go ahead and do that right now. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. You'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. Go check out Sleeper right now. They're lovely. They're the sleeper.com. Promo code locked on. All right, let's continue on here, Mike, with our dissection of the Game 1 loss for the Blue Jays to the Minnesota Twins. Man, just... I was feeling great. It was like, oh yeah, Twins, who cares? They're dumb, they're bad, they're going to lose. The bad strikeout rate, they're the Central Division champs. And then, of course, you're reminded, no, they have very good baseball players up and down and all this stuff, and their pitching is quite good. Pablo Lopez was very solid in this game. I don't think he was like untouchable necessarily, but he definitely got the job done. You get Yohan Duran coming in late in the game, and it's just like, okay, gas, all this stuff. But I think the overwhelming thing here, for me, on the hitting side of things for the Blue Jays, was just missed opportunities and like squandered opportunities.
Yeah.
We could talk about the Bo Bichette, send or decision to go through the stop sign. Like, great play by Carlos Correa, obviously, like amazing play, but certainly cost the team a chance at multiple runs there to have the bases loaded with Matt Chapman coming up. Would have been nice. However, they end the inning there, and it's a big-time bummer. But I want to start with the 8th inning, Mike, which to me was the low point of this baseball game. It starts off, Vlad rips a double, 108 off the bat per StatCast. Rips a double. It's exciting. Lead off, hardest hit of the game. Lead off, like, all right, they're cooking. They've got Griffin Jackson, this young kind of unproven dude. This feels like the spot. You got the meat of the order coming up. And then the Bo Bichette at-bat after the Vlad double might have been the worst at-bat I've watched all season. And yes, it's amplified by the fact that it's the playoffs, but good Lord, 3 straight pitches. He strikes out on an awful chase at the end, like a prime Vernon Wells, Alex Rios level chase on a ball just careening outside. Just no chance whatsoever.
I don't
think that.
That ball was never on the plate. Like, that was one of the worst hit swings I've ever seen in my life. He clearly was swinging no matter what. Like, that was where he goes up there with the approach. He's like, I'm going to attack this baseball and see if we can try and get something going and capitalize off of this guy just giving up a hit. And unfortunately, the ball was nowhere to be hit by the pitchers. So, like, legitimate, that thing was 2 feet off the plate. There's no reason for him to swing at that, and for it just to crush your dreams. It was just classic Blue Jays. The second they get something going and something cooking, they forget how to play baseball. Kevin Biggio comes up afterwards. Same thing. Guy gets struck out looking, and then
when having really good plate discipline gets too real.
Yeah,
yeah, rough go, and then Kirk grounds out to end the inning, and it was like the quick turnaround too. It felt like it was like 4 seconds between Vlad hitting the double and all of the life being taken out of the sails of the Blue Jays, and those 3 straight outs. Like, really, really quick, just not competitive at bats at all. I thought actually early in this game too, Mike, the at bats are pretty non-competitive as well. Pablo Lopez was getting up 1-2 strikes pretty regularly, and they just kind of were fighting from behind the entire time. I thought this was a bad Brandon Belt game. We were very high on Brandon Belt coming in. I thought he did not handle Pablo Lopez's stuff very well. I think he had 3 strikeouts in this one, or 2 strikeouts, but I don't know. Just that 8th inning, really a giant bummer. It felt like there was a real opportunity there that was squandered. Speaking of which, back to the Bo Bichette errant base running decision. Look, I know typically I'm like pro be a maniac on the base paths. You should see me at beer league, man. I'm a maniac, just running nonstop. Who cares? Stop sign doesn't matter. And I understand the impulse for Bo to say, hey, this ball has kind of dribbled by the third baseman. It's kind of in no man's land. It's going to take a miraculous play to throw me out at home. And then Carlos Correa makes a miraculous play. What was your impression of the decision by Bo Bichette to blow through the stop sign and head home? He was out by a good 10 feet. It was not even close, and really, really deflating as well.
Yeah, I think you just got to also keep in mind that it's been tough for these Blue Jays to score runs. Like, even when you got runners in scoring position, it's not like it's led to increased offense for this team, right? Like, that's been a big problem with them all year long. So, okay, you got the bases loaded, man on second and third. Typically, nothing happens for this team. So if there's a 50-50 shot that you can go out there and you can try and pick up that free base, and with the one that happens to be, home plate, and take advantage and maybe catch him by surprise. Like, if you catch him by surprise, and if Correa, doesn't react as swiftly as he did to the play, then Bo Bichette probably does get home. But he had a split second to make that decision of whether or not he was going to go. And once he did, he had to go. And Correa was ready for it and did make a great play. You got to tip the cap to him. But I would have to think that's what's going through Bo's mind. It's like, this is probably going to be one of our few opportunities that I can, score a run for this team. I'm going to go and try and do it here, because there's no guarantees that Matt Chapman was going to do it. So I wonder if that was played into his decision there.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like, I do understand the thinking. I understand that, if Correa doesn't make an incredible play there, throws it, a little bit off target, Bo slides in and scores, we're all lunatics. We're all going nuts. We're all just praising Bo for the aggressive base pass. It's such a results-based thing. And yeah, like, you kind of just got to tip your cap to an incredible play by Correa. You make a really good point that I feel like they're maybe wired to know that they can't score runs, and so every opportunity feels like a golden one, and they just could not. I mean, there were 2 outs though at the same time. Like, don't end an inning like that.
Well, but if there's 2 outs, right? If there's 2 outs, I think that makes it more likely for you to go. Because if there's only 1 out, okay, whatever, then you get Matt Chapman, who could come up and just hit it into the outfield, and you can score on a sac fly. 2 outs, this guy's got to get a base hit. This guy's hitting Mendoza line over the course of the last 4 months. Like, I think you probably like your chances at a 50-50 chance at the plate than you do Matt Chapman roping one and, blooping it into center field, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and look, like, if you're Bo Bichette in that situation, I'm sure there's some awareness of who's coming up and what the out situation is and all that. I'm not sure you're sitting there contemplating as you're turning the corner after a weird play. Oh God, Matt Chapman's up. Like, I can't go now because Matt Chapman's hitting 198, since, like, he's not like going to have that just sort of supercomputer processing ability. So
I don't know, man. He's a pretty smart dude. You don't get to the bigs by being a dummy.
Yeah, that's true. Look, the Bo Bichette thing I'm mad about is that 8th inning at bat after the double. That's really the thing that stands out as the big Bo Bichette flop in this game, not the decision to run home, as unfortunate as the result was. How certain were you that Matt Chapman ball was going out? He hit that ball extremely far. It would have been a home run in 13 of 30 Major League parks. It went further than Royce Lewis's second home run, and yet, because of dimensions and baseball, Michael A. Taylor tracks it down, and that is not what would have been a 3-run home run. Totally changes the game for the Jays.
That's the dub.
It's on, man.
would have given them the lead at 4-3, and then that's a completely different ball game. Yeah, he hit that thing 401 feet. The fence is 403 feet. When they say that, games and sports are a game of inches or feet, like, this is literally what that means. He hits that 2 extra feet. That thing is gone. Gone. And the Jays are up 4-3, and then that locked it down. Bullpen goes to work. You said that, that was further than Royce Lewis's first home run. It was the furthest ball hit all game. Further than both of the home runs. Royce Lewis just happened to hit it in a more shallow part of the ballpark, where Matt Chapman hits it to deep center field, where the fence is a little bit further outward at 403 feet. Is really unfortunate because, I think a lot of people thought that thing was gone. And if he hits that, probably either a foot or two further, or maybe 3 feet or 2 feet to the right, that probably clears the fence. But it didn't happen, and obviously the baseball gods were on the Twins side on that one. And
what a sentence that is.
Baseball gods were on the Twins side. I know. Well, it's their first win since 2004. So I guess it was time. It was time.
We really do invest a lot of our emotional well-being into a game that's essentially just like inches, feet, randomness, weird nonsense. It's great. It's a really smart thing we've done here.
Yep.
Let's tee up game 2, shall we? We'll come back on the other side and get ready for game 2. We'll see if things will be any different for the Jays. We'll tee up the pitching matchup between Sonny Gray and Jose Berrios. Maybe make a little MV or predictions and stuff like that. Maybe not MVP of a game. You can't really have that unless you're Royce Lewis, I guess. But we'll do a little prediction time and see how we're feeling. Coming up in just a second. Before that, got to tell you about our new sponsor, and that is Bunches. All right, Locked On Jays fans, you may have heard us talk about this new free app for sports Bunches. Bunches is a new social network built for sports fans. No politics, no doom and gloom, just sports. Unless you're a Jays fan today, then there's some doom and gloom, but that's fine. They've recently released a new scoreboard feature that lets you check live scores in the app and chat about live games as they happen. You can chat about the Jays, whatever team it is that you follow, and join the Locked On Bunch by clicking the link in the show notes description to get the app, or go to the Apple App Store and download Bunches now. Bunches is the free app where sports fans chat, and Locked On MLB's group chat is on Bunches. Go there now and connect with other baseball fans, chat your favorite team, and keep up with the latest MLB news. A lot of the other places to talk about sports on the internet now are broken or don't work very well or are very bad. Bunches can be your new place to go. Download the Bunches app today, and when you do, our friends at Bunches have featured the Locked On MLB Bunch in the Discover tab. You can also click the link in the description show notes to join the Locked On MLB Bunch community today. All right, Mike, game 2 tomorrow. All the marbles for the Jays. They got to win. Otherwise, it's yet another very disappointing season. And sneakily, they're kind of working on their own little losing streak in the playoffs as well, if they drop this one tomorrow. Jose Berrios will take the mound in his old park against Sonny Gray. How you feeling, man? Sonny Gray, really good this season. It's daunting. He was excellent against the Jays this year. Gave up just 1 run in 5 innings in the 1 appearance they had against him. All told, just a really, really good pitcher. 2.79 ERA, 184. Probably going to be like second or third in the Cy Young voting this year, behind Garrett Cole, in the conversation with Kevin Gausman. Probably number 2, honestly. Man, Sonny Gray, with the season on the line, feels great.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough to be going up against that guy of all people. Definitely not someone you want to be going up against, but this is a make or break for the Blue Jays season. It all comes down to one game, and that's going to be tomorrow. And they got to find a way to get some offense. It doesn't matter how well Jose Berrios could pitch, because he can go out there and he can throw 7 innings scoreless or throw 7 innings, give up one measly little home run. If they can't get offense on the board, they don't stand a chance. And I know it's going to be tough to do against Sonny Gray, but it's got to be mandatory, obviously. So that's got to be the approach tomorrow is, let's get some runs, get some support for Berrios and try and extend this season.
We saw what I think was the lineup we expected to see from the Jays in this game. You have the 4 lefties in there. Do you expect just like the same lineup? Like I don't think the batting order was the problem in this game at all, really. I think it was as good a lineup as you could toss out there.
Yeah, no, I don't expect to see much of any difference, I would say, to the game. Like you got another right-handed pitcher out there, so you're going to want to have some lefties out there, some balance. So you'll continue to see Kevin Biggio, you'll continue to see Varsho, obviously, and Kevin Kiermaier, who actually had a base hit today. So I think we probably see the exact same lineup, just got to see different results.
So, speaking of results, here's some of the numbers for current Jays batters against Sonny Gray in their careers. Not a ton of success here, Mike. It's not looking great. Matt Chapman has a home run in 8 at-bats, 3 hits. He's got a 1420 OPS in those 8 at-bats. That's great. Kevin Kiermaier, 844 OPS. He's got 2 home runs against Sonny Gray, most of any Blue Jay. George Springer has 1 home run. Both Kiermaier and Springer 5 of 21 in their careers against Sonny Gray. And then after that, man, it's a pretty big drop-off. I mean, not a ton of looks against Sonny Gray for a lot of these guys. Vlad's only faced him 5 times, no hits. Brandon Belt, 0 for 8. Dalton Varsho, 0 for 2. You got Whit Merrifield, 1 for 16. Don't think we'll be seeing big hit Whit in this game until Sonny Gray is chased at least. Bo Bichette, just 1 for 5. Kevin Biggio, just 1 for 4. Not a lot of success here for Toronto Blue Jays players against the ace, or the number 2, whatever you want. Dueling aces, I suppose, for the Twins. Lopez, then Gray is quite the 1-2.
I'm surprised they only had like a couple of at-bats against this guy, considering he spent 2 years in New York. You would think that they would have a little bit more, seen him a little bit more in just a couple of years. He got traded the
plenty
1
of time
year
with the Reds and stuff too. Yeah,
injured, I guess. But still, you think like you're with a division rival, and they played like 18 games against one another. You'd think there would have been a little bit more overlap in games that Gray pitched, but.
I find the Sonny Gray Yankees era does not exactly like stick in my brain. I kind of forgot he played for the Yankees, if I'm being totally real.
Oh yeah, like 4 or 5 years ago. It was pre-pandemic.
A season and a half, it looks like he spent there. So
pre-pandemic,
2017-18. So it was actually before. Yeah, he's been in the NL for the most part since like Vlad and the crew came up. So that explains the lack of ABs against Sonny Gray. On the Jose Berrios side of things, not a ton of guys on the Twins have had great success there either, and the ones who have are not in the lineup. Nick Gordon's 5 of 11. He's not playing. Byron Buxton, 2 of 10. He's not around. And after that, Carlos Correa, 3 of 12, 733 OPS. Christian Vasquez, 2 of 8. Joey Gallo's 3 of 18. Jorge Polanco, 1 for 10. Michael Taylor, 1 for 7. Willie Castro, 1 for 9. So neither pitcher has given a whole lot up to the batters who will be hitting the game tomorrow. I don't know. Parting shots, feelings, predictions. What you got here, Mike? Do you have any sort of optimism going in to game number 2? John Schneider said that everyone will be available, even dudes who don't usually come out of the pen will be available. Kevin Gausman, the only one, he says, not available if they need them. Tomorrow. Where you at? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, like, keep in mind that also means that Chris Bassett could be available as well.
Yep.
If things don't go well for Berrios early on, I'd expect to see him, warming up, either him or Kikuchi.
I'd almost rather see Kikuchi, considering the lefty lack of dominance the Twins have had against lefties this season. I know it's like dumb to be like, save Bassett for game 3 when if you lose game 2 you're done, but like I kind of feel like maybe save Bassett for game 3, but I don't know, man. It's not a great spot to be in. Like, you don't like to have these things come down to win or go home games. It's not pleasant, and it leaves you having to kind of do all sorts of desperate things to stay alive.
Yeah, you got to have a bounce back game for Bo, because although he did, get on base a couple of times.
Still 2 hits, yeah.
you think about the bad approach in the 8th inning, and then you think about, him getting gunned down at home plate. Those couple of opportunities that were missed for the Blue Jays to create some offense. Maybe that sticks in his mind tomorrow, and he says, "I got to make it up to my boys." And maybe he goes yard, or maybe he doubles one when someone's on first and second. So I'm looking at Bo Bichette, need some offense out of him to maybe make up for what he was unable to do today at the plate.
My only wish for tomorrow is no grooved in fastballs for Royce Lewis to smash 380 feet or whatever.
Don't do that. Don't do that, Jose. As
Yeah,
Berrios too, though, like you can tell pretty early on whenever Berrios going to have a good game. Is he locating his pitches? Is he dancing on both sides of the plate? If he is, you can feel pretty confident about that game. And if he's not, you can, he's erratic early and he's walking guys, he gets into the walk trouble and then he gives up a homer. That's where things get real dicey. And we saw that in the first inning today, right? Give up a walk, give up a homer, and the Jays were chasing from there on out. Can't happen tomorrow if you're Jose Berrios. He's got to be on his A game from the first pitch of the game.
Yeah, for sure. One last quick shout out from today's game. I did want to give a little bit of love. I thought Chad Green was really good. I thought Genesis Cabrera really good when they came in. In their sort of, hold it over type of duty. Well done there.
Jordan Hicks got out of a jam too, right? Jordan Hicks getting out of a jam. You always love to see that. Yeah, he got himself into it, but he got himself out of it. So, well, tip of the cap there as well.
Well, the Jays have gotten themselves into this predicament. We'll see if they, too, can get themselves out of it tomorrow. Godspeed. Enjoy Game 2. Hopefully, that is not going to be the last podcast we do reacting to Game 2. We shall see. Would love to do more pods with my buddy Mike, but the Jays will have to help us out there. Either way, thank you so much for tuning in. You can find Mike at Mickey Canuck on Twitter. Listen to him on Locked On Leafs. You can find me at Woodley Sean. You can listen to me on Locked On Raptors as well. If you're looking for another maddening sports team to think about, Toronto has all of them. They're just arms overflowing with teams that drive us crazy. It's fantastic. Either way, thank you so much. Please follow, subscribe to, rate and review the podcast for free wherever you get your shows. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day, and we will talk to you again after Game 2, hopefully not weeping about a loss and a season coming to an unceremonious end. Until then, thanks so much for hanging. Bye-bye.